They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmers podcast.
Welcome into the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri. That's Jose Ortiz, and this is the Benchwarmers podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you happen to be listening, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. We're going to try to make it worth your while. Big show so far. We talked all NBA in the first hour, Western Conference, Eastern Conference, moving right along in the playoff bubble. Coming up in a minute or two or several, we have midseason MLB storylines to touch on. You can follow us along, by the way, along Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio podcasting app, and actually a yet-to-be-named platform that's coming up very soon. I'm very excited. We'll tease that a little bit. And email us, the Benchwarmers podcast at yahoo.com, Benchwarmers with a Z for marketing purposes. And with that, we're going to move on to the NFL because it's right around the corner, and it looks like it's going to happen. So I am thoroughly excited because if the NFL didn't happen this season, I was going to sit on my couch and cry for 3 hours at minimum every Sunday. So now I don't have to do that, hopefully. And so there's a whole litany of things we have to touch on. But first and foremost, the big news this week has been that Leonard Fournette was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it looks like the tank job for Trevor Lawrence is officially, I think that this is the official statement by the Jaguars that they're completely giving up on this season. And, you know, Leonard Fournette's an interesting guy. And just to give you an idea, he was the first running back picked in the 2017 draft. So just to run down a couple notable names in the 2017 draft that were picked after Leonard Fournette. Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Marlon Mack, James Conner, let's see, who else? Terry Cohen, Aaron Jones, and then Austin Eckler was actually undrafted. And so I feel like this is, yet another example of, and, Saquon Barkley, beware. I mean, this is reasons why, first round running backs are being taken less and less. I mean, it's just, I guess, is Leonard Fournette a bust? I mean, he had a great season. For all intents and purposes, he had a great season last year. He was, I think it was a career high he had, and of running yard, or 1,152 rushing yards, 76 catches, and I think it was 1,600 yards total, or something like that. And so, I don't know. It's just, I don't even know where to go with this. I mean, Jose, do you think he gets picked up anywhere? And if so, where would you put him?
Well, first of all, not to rain on the Jaguars parade, they also passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to take Leonard Fournette, just to throw that out there.
Ooh, I forgot about that. Whoops.
Yeah. But, that's neither here nor there. So, first of all, yes, I don't think he gets picked up at his salary. I mean, here's the thing. The Jaguars were trying to trade him, and no one would even give up a 7th-round pick for him. They wouldn't even give up a 7th-round pick, guys who probably won't even make your team. They would rather have a guy who probably won't even make the team than pay Leonard Fournette $4 million this year. That's how bad that's how bad they think he is. Now, you're right. He hasn't been a terrible player. He's been okay. I think it was 4.3 yards per carry last year. Not bad. Mm-hmm. If there was one team that would come in and claim him off waivers, and I don't know necessarily how the salary would work, the number one team in my mind was the New England Patriots, just because, A, Bill Belichick has done this type of thing before. B, Sony Michel, I don't know. It just seems like he's not necessarily the guy they thought he was. Then behind him, you have Damian Harris, you have Rex Burkhead, you have Lamar Miller. I mean, if you can't come in and beat Lamar Miller, Rex Burkhead, and Damian Harris, then you don't really belong in the NFL. So other teams I thought of were the Dolphins, the Eagles, the Bears. and the Rams maybe. But honestly, I think Leonard Fournette is kind of an old school running back. If this were 1990, I think Leonard Fournette would probably have thrived in the NFL more so. But today's today's running backs have to be more versatile. They have to be more of a fluid pass catching back, and then he also had durability issues. Which, if you want to get a second contract in the NFL as a running back, you cannot have durability issues. You cannot miss games. You can't be getting injured. You can't be on the injury report all the time. That's why Ezekiel Elliott got paid. That's why Christian McCaffrey got paid. That's why Jim Mixon just got paid. Because these guys stay on the field. They give you 3 downs. You don't have to take them off the field when there's a passing situation. And they're almost always your best option, whether it's a passing down or a rushing down. Leonard Fournette's just not that guy. It's a shame because he was labeled a can't-miss prospect. And that is, you're right, the cautionary tale towards Saquon Barkley, who's already shown some durability issues. Got injured last year. I don't know, it missed like 6-7 games last year. So, yeah, I'm not too surprised by it because I knew they were trying to trade him and could get nothing for him.
Yeah, the Patriots are the team that came to mind immediately. Because that's Bill Belichick has got that written all over. It's buy low, sell high. So now Leonard Fournette, he went through waivers. Nobody claimed him. They couldn't trade him. So his value is at basically an all-time low. Yeah. And that's exactly when a guy like Belichick would swoop in and grab him.
I thought maybe the 49ers too.
I was literally just saying that, and I let you go first. And yeah, I could see Shanahan picking him up too because he would fit into that rotation of stud running backs they already have. And the thing that kind of bothers me is that I kind of want to make a public appeal to the NFL and just say, please don't put the Jaguars on television this season because dude, they were a play away from beating the Patriots in the AFC Championship a couple years ago, and since then they have jettisoned Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, AJ Bouye, Dante Fowler, and most recently, Yannick Ngakoue took a pay cut. He took almost $5 million pay cut to leave Jacksonville and go to Minnesota to play on a team that's for real. And
so
it
kind of makes you wonder what's wrong with the Jaguars organization where nobody wants to stay there. You have this litany. I think over the last 10 years, they've had all their first round picks and only 2 of them have become Pro Bowlers. They just can't seem to cultivate talent. They had that 1 year and then they let everyone walk. It was weird. They let everyone walk. They didn't draft well after that. I think a lot of that year was maybe fool's gold because you had Blake Bortles playing decently.
Well, they were a defensive team. That was a team that was based. They had Miles Jack, like other guys I said, Jalen Ramsey, Miles Jack was there. They were defense first by far.
Absolutely. It's just weird to me. Like to go because the defense kind of fell apart and the offense was never there. This is what happens when you don't draft well. And you're like, okay, well, we're going to trade away Jalen Ramsey and get 2 first-round picks. Well, if you don't make good picks, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's going to be the problem is if the Jaguars go through all this tanking, process, if you want to use the NBA term, there's a chance that, that Washington's going to be worse. There's a chance. You don't know what quarterback. If Aaron Rodgers gets injured again, the Packers could go, 2-14, and so it's kind of just it's a very dicey gamble, and so and again with Ngakoue, this is from Albert Breer. He tweeted this. He said the Vikings and tight end Yannick Ngakoue or defensive end Yannick Ngakoue worked overnight on an adjustment to his franchise tender, landing at a little under $13 million. That's down from $17.778 million. And Minnesota made clear its intention to do a long-term deal in 2021. So Ngakoue really, in capital letters, wanted out of Jacksonville. And so that's...
If I'm Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars finish with the number 1 pick, I'm going back to college for my senior year.
Or do you pull a John Elway, Eli Manning? Do you say, no, I'm not going there?
I don't know if he still has that type of power anymore, but maybe
he's got that kind of clout for sure. I mean, John Elway was the the best prospect in the history of football up until that point, really.
Yeah.
And Eli Manning he came in with sort of the legacy value. And so it's, if you're,
I mean, there is something. I'm sorry. There is something to going to a team that's trash and then putting them on your back, trying to do what Baker Mayfield is trying to do. Which a lot of times people want to trash Baker Mayfield. I can't remember the last time the Browns put together 2 8-win seasons. It's
been a while.
Yeah. So there is something to wanting to take that on, but I would still run and hide if I were Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, or I mean, I don't even know.
Justin Fields, whoever.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I might hold out. I might go. I don't know where I would want to go, but it would not be Jacksonville because they're just. I mean, I don't even know what they don't even have a losing culture. They don't. They just are just. I mean, they need to be relegated to like college at this point. It's embarrassing.
It's just a poor run franchise, and this is what happens to poor run franchises.
Yeah, and so Blake Bortles was kind of, if Blake Bortles is your highlight, then you're in trouble. So from one quarterback to another, there's a report out. There was a rumor that Jordan Love was severely underperforming in training camp. Obviously, you take training camp with a grain of salt, but apparently he was missing very, very easy passes and not accurate, just not understanding any of the offense at all. And this is not a good sign. And it got me thinking a lot about the Aaron Rodgers, because everybody keeps making the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre comparison. The only thing that those guys have in common are that they both are quarterbacks and there's a great quarterback in front of them. But Jordan Love, I mean, do you know how lucky the Packers got that Aaron Rodgers turned out to be better than Brett Favre? I mean, arguably, you could still make the case that Brett Favre is better, but percentage-wise and sort of touchdown-interception ratio and things like that, I mean, Aaron Rodgers blows away Brett Favre. But if Aaron Rodgers had been Alex Smith and had Alex Smith's career instead of Aaron Rodgers, the Packers would have been decimated. And so Jordan Love is I think everyone's kind of banking on the fact that he's going to be the Aaron Rodgers in this scenario, but he might not. He might be the Achilles Smith of this draft. It's tough to see, and I really, it's rare that I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers, but I mean if I'm watching this kid throw a ball, I'm like, dude, can you play receiver maybe? Because what are we doing here?
Drafting Jordan Love was a slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers. To me, it was a slap in the face to all the Packers who made the playoffs last year and got blown out by the 49ers and say, hey, listen, let's reload. Like I know we got blown out, but like we were still 13-3. As hollow as that 13-3 is or was, we were still 13-3. We were still in the AFC Championship game. I'm sorry, NFC Championship game. We just need to try and get a little bit better. And kind of hope maybe we get, maybe someone gets injured on another team. Maybe we get lucky. This is how the ball bounces in the NFL. For them to waste their first and second round pick on future pieces, because let's not forget they took A.J. Dillon in the second round when they're reportedly working on a contract extension for Aaron Jones. So I'm like, why'd you take A.J. Dillon then? What are you doing? So, but as far as the Jordan Love underperforming, I'm not terribly surprised. I mean, he's a rookie. It's his first training camp. There was no off-season activities this year. I'm kind of giving him a pass a little bit on he didn't look great. But what you said was spot on. Not about necessarily because, we can debate Aaron Rodgers better than Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is probably better than Brett Favre, though I think Brett Favre may have more longevity. But we'll see. You drafted back-to-back, or basically you had a Hall of Fame quarterback, moved on and drafted a Hall of Fame quarterback. That is so rare. That is the part that is really rare. Because if Jordan Love ends up being a Hall of Famer, we'll just call the Packers the luckiest team in the history of sports. That means that your 3 quarterbacks in a row were Hall of Famers. That doesn't happen. So it doesn't make any sense to me that they drafted Jordan Love, but I'm not surprised that he's struggling to struggling on camp right now.
Speaking of struggling, some injury news. The Eagles draft pick Jalen Reagor is injured and looks like he's out. It says it looks probably about 4 weeks is the report. And this, in case you were wondering, the Eagles are, I mean, if you didn't realize it last year, they're not good at wide receiver. I mean, they have Deshaun Jackson, I guess, is their big guy. They have Marquise Goodwin, who they picked up, which, okay.
No, he opted out. He opted out, though, for the COVID. Right. He's a COVID opt-out. So that's why he's not even there. It's Greg Ward.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, my gosh.
Alshon Jeffrey, who's likely going to be on the PUP list.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Reagor was kind of their hope, and now he's hurt, and it's just...
Talking about feeling bad for a quarterback, I feel bad for Carson Wentz. The guy went out there and threw 4,000 yards last season with a JV squad.
Yeah.
You know, if you could put, I mean, this is, and that's why I think, you know, we had a debate about this a year ago where I put Carson Wentz in kind of an elite category. And I've since changed my mind because he didn't put up the numbers like that. But still, 4,000 yards with a JV squad at wide receiver. Imagine if you just gave him a legit number one wide receiver who could stay on the field for 14 to 16 games.
Yeah. I mean, he did some impressive things with, I mean, he made chicken soup out of chicken.
Well, no more excuses. There's still even fewer excuses for the Cowboys. Even fewer excuses for the Cowboys this year. This is their division. They must win this division, and it should not be close.
It shouldn't be even remotely close. I mean, they should, with that division, Washington being in a full rebuild, the Giants still kind of teetering on bad to decent, and the Eagles just being decimated from top to bottom. I mean, the Cowboys should have. Their division record should blow away everybody. They should be the number one seed in the league next year.
If I gave you an over-under 10 wins for the Dallas Cowboys next season, or this season.
Oh, I'd go over. I'll say 11. Me too. I think they're 11-win team.
Me too. And I think if you get to 11 wins,
I think they should be
easily win the
14 team in that division, but I think they're going to be an 11-win team.
Well, 14-win team. I mean, come on, that's the.
But that's two games apiece. They should win 2, 4, 6. There's 6 teams right there in that division that they should win handily.
You're the one who always chastises me for forgetting that divisional games are different. That
they are different.
It's hard to go 6-0 in your division, essentially.
It's very hard. But when your teams are that bad, I mean, Peyton Manning could do it when he was with surrounded by a bunch of crap in the AFC South.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I think that they should be a 14. They're not going to be a 14-win team, but I think they'll be a 11-win team.
Yep.
So the last bit of injury news, and this is unfortunate. Derwin James has a meniscus injury, and he's going to miss quote unquote significant time. And this is now the second season he's going to be injured out of 3 that he's been in the league.
Yeah. And
amazing safety, unbelievable talent, physically gifted, almost easily when he's healthy, the best safety in the league, maybe with Jamal Adams there, but I think Derwin James is better actually. And so this is unfortunate, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's the Chargers training staff, because if you look at the history of who's been injured, Hunter Henry's injured every year. Keenan Allen had a couple years where he was comeback player of the year because he kept getting injured. Ingram has been injured. I mean, it's starting to become kind of an epidemic, and I hesitate to use that word in this time, but
certainly a trend. Certainly a trend.
I mean, it seems like it's there's something going on in the Chargers locker room, and it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I that's something I hadn't even thought of about maybe something going on with the Chargers. Maybe their medical staff, maybe their training staff, maybe guys aren't getting stretched out the right way, or there's so many different things that go into it. And it is unfortunate because the one thing that the Chargers really had going for them this season was that they had an elite level defense. And to lose Derwin James, who missed 11 games last season, to lose him again, this is devastating. I mean, I'm not sure where we have them I don't remember what I had them projected to do, and we'll revisit our projections, our rankings next week. But
Yep.
I can't imagine that the Chargers can really overcome this. I mean, he was basically almost like one of the most valuable players on their defense at that strong safety position, and he's just it's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough, and now he's going to get kind of that label of being injury prone, which I hate when that happens, because sometimes it's just about being unlucky. It's not necessarily about being injury prone. Sometimes you're just unlucky. Sometimes you are injury prone, but sometimes you're just unlucky.
Yep.
And I'm hoping right now that Derwin James, who is a young, promising NFL player, has just been unlucky.
Yeah, and the last two stories, I'm gonna give you your choice of which one you want to talk about first and more. And Joe Mixon, running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, signed a 4-year, $48 million contract extension. And the other news is that Josh Gordon reported to have sold his Super Bowl ring for $138,000 at an auction. And so, which one of these is more interesting to you?
Definitely the Josh Gordon selling his ring. I mean, I have something to say about Joe Mixon too, but it's just another low. It seems like I don't know what's going on in his personal life and everything, and I don't want to,
It's not a good sign when
it's not a good sign.
Off your Super Bowl winning ring.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a lot of money. And not to say that I have $138,000 laying around where I'm just like, oh yeah, $138,000, it's nothing. But for something that, to me at least, seems priceless, it doesn't seem like something that you would just sell like that. Like you don't, you have to earn that ring. You don't buy that at the store. Yeah. You have to earn that ring. And
unless you buy it at an auction.
Unless you buy it. Yeah, right. Fair enough. Yeah. To sell it for $138,000, it just feels like, I mean, there's people, you could make that in 2 years working a regular job.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like not enough money. And for you to be that desperate for money that you have to sell a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Something that, I mean, if I had a Super Bowl ring, which I have no chance of ever having one, but if I had one, it'd be something I'd want to show my son, something that maybe I even pass down
for sure.
Generations. Like, this is not something that you're selling, or that this is a family heirloom that should stay in your family forever.
Yeah, there's very, very few people in this world have ever worn a Super Bowl ring.
I've never even seen one in person. So it's really just disappointing. It's a shame. What a promising talent he was. And it's just another low for him.
Probably not coincidentally, he also applied for reinstatement in June. Yeah. And Pete Carroll, was quoted as saying he was, quote unquote, very open to possibly bringing Gordon back, although in the 7 games that he played for the Seahawks, he only amassed 7 receptions for 139 yards before he was suspended for yet again violating the league's policy on PEDs.
I mean, it's not an on and off switch. You can't just leave the NFL and come back and just be like, okay, I'm an NFL player again. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But what is fortunate is Joe Mixon getting $48 million. I was actually really surprised by this. I mean, I know he was very productive, but talking about like the Leonard Fournette thing, it seems kind of interesting that the Bengals chose to sign me. I guess it makes sense because Joe Burrow is on a rookie contract, so keep your good player. But the running back position is not a high valued position unless you're at the very, very, very elite level, a la Christian McCaffrey, and I guess even Zeke you could put into that category, but not recently.
Well, Zeke, I disagree. Zeke's been elite. He's been great his entire career. I think he had 1,300 yards rushing last season. I don't.
He's been trailing off every year of his career. He's been producing less and less. So I'm comparing him to himself.
That's fine. But the guy ran for almost 1,400 yards last year. That's elite.
Yeah,
that's elite.
He is.
That's elite. But yeah, Joe Mixon. I understand the reaction. I just think, and I think exactly what you said. Joe Burrow's on a rookie contract. AJ Green's going to be basically done with either in the NFL or at least with the Bengals after this season because he's on a franchise tag. I don't imagine they're going to bring him back. you have to build around someone. I don't think I didn't look at their roster, but I don't think they have very many high-paid players on their team.
Yeah.
Certainly not on the offensive side that I could think of. So it just felt like Joe Mixon has been a productive player on a trash team for the last 3 seasons. Let's lock him up. He's shown durability. He's shown that he's durable. He's shown that he's a responsible citizen on and off the field. He's not making stupid mistakes, despite he had some college issues, but it seems like he's cleaned it up in the NFL. And he's a 3-down back. He doesn't leave the field. If you saw last year, he was just crushing it at the end of last season. Now, truth be told, I happen to have Mixon in my dynasty league, as you know, because we're in a dynasty league together. And I'm very happy that he got this extension. So I was jumping for joy. But yeah, no, I was not too surprised, because I just don't think who do you have on your team? Who is your offensive weapon? If you let Joe Mixon go, who are you giving the ball to?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And in the last 2 years, Mixon basically had the same season back-to-back years. He's had a little over 1,100 yards rushing. He's had about 40 receptions for about 300 yards receiving, and he's scored eight touchdowns and 5 touchdowns respectively, 18, 19.
And that's on a trash team. That's on a terrible team.
That's on a team that's not scoring many touchdowns, period. Yeah. So yeah, I mean he's good. He's good. I'm surprised. I was a little surprised, but I guess with thinking about it more with Joe Burrow on a rookie deal, now's the time you start throwing out cash to skill positions, because
it's always. I'm sorry. Yeah, good.
No, just the window's open, but it's not going to be open for long. So
it's always surprising when running backs get paid nowadays. I think that's what it is. Anytime a running back gets extended, you're like, oh my gosh, he got extended. Yep. What? They didn't cut him?
Yep.
So yeah, of course it's surprising.
Yeah, sorry, Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take
Kamara's next. We'll see what happens with him.
Kamara might get traded. They're open. The Saints said they're open to trading him, but they want a first draft pick. So I mean, I don't know. I think honestly, who if I were to pick him up, I would if I were the Ravens, I would give up a first round draft pick for Alvin Kamara, because if you get Ingram and Kamara back together again, and you're basically going all in, but I mean they're going to be at the back end of that first round anyway, so
absolutely,
it's a difference.
Yeah.
So I would take them up on that if I was the Ravens. Just go full bore, get in there, and because Kamara could be a receiver too, and that's the Ravens need receivers.
So, I feel like if I were the Rams, I would make a move on that as well. Just he's got to be better than Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers, who they have there. So
that's true. Yeah, it's possible. But all right, we're gonna take a break, and then we have one more thing to talk about. We have to touch on some MLB. And there's a whole litany of things. We'll kind of do a rapid fire, thing, and just kind of get through it, because, baseball unfortunately is extremely regional. So it's unless we talk about the team that you root for, people don't really care. So we'll try to to a little more generalized things. So stick around, and you can follow us along iHeartRadio podcasting app, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Our Twitter is at the BW Pod. Everything else is the Benchwarmerz podcast with the Benchwarmerz with a Z. Excuse me. So we're going to come right back with that. So stick around.
You can reduce your risk of COVID-19 by cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched items and surfaces every day. These items include remotes, tables, counters, light switches, doorknobs, handles, toilets, and sinks. Wear disposable gloves to clean and disinfect. If you can see that the item is dirty, wash first with soap and water or another general cleaner. Then use a household disinfectant to kill germs. Follow manufacturer's instructions for application and proper ventilation to safely use the product. For phones or other electronics, follow the manufacturer's instructions for cleaning and disinfecting. If no instructions, use alcohol-based wipes or sprays containing at least 70% alcohol. Dry surface thoroughly. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
And now back to the Benchwarmers podcast with Lou and Jose.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Lou Ruggieri. That's Jose Ortiz, and this is still the Benchwarmerz podcast. We appreciate you taking a little bit of your day to spend it with us. Fantastic show thus far. We talked all NBA, the first hour, playoffs, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. The top of this hour, we talked football, all the news and highlights. You can go back and listen to that if you'd like. And now we're going to round out the show with the Major League Baseball midseason storylines. We saw the trade deadline come and go, and to kind of get through this, because as I said before the break, the baseball has become increasingly regional, and if you're not really, it seems apparent that if you're not talking about the team that you root for, people kind of tune out a little bit. So we wanted to make this, it's still a major sport, obviously, so we have to talk about it. So we decided to come up with, what our 9 innings of baseball news, but we're going to go from 9 to 1 instead of 1 to 9, and kind of just, Jose, I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on this and kind of talk through the inning by inning, kind of the highlights and storylines that kind of piqued your interest in baseball in the midseason point.
Yeah, so speaking of regional, number 9 for me, will Aaron Judge ever stay healthy? He's already been on the injured list twice this year.
Yeah.
And aside from 2017, when he played 155 games and consequently was the second in MVP, subsequently was second in MVP voting that season, he has not. He missed 50 games in 2018, missed 60 games last year.
Yeah.
It's just starting to feel like this guy can't stay healthy for a full season.
Yeah, and I was thinking a lot about this because between him and Giancarlo Stanton, it's getting a little bit ridiculous because these two guys should be just destroying the league. And this is Aaron Judge. He suffered a right calf strain. Aaron Boone the manager didn't have a timetable for when Judge would be back. He did say that the injury was, quote, fairly minor, unquote, in nature. Judge spent 14 days on the IL the first time with a grade 1 strain, and then played 1 game, and then went immediately back on the injured list. And so, I made myself laugh today because I remember thinking about Aaron Judge being hurt, and this dude is a monster. I mean, he's humongous, and you look at him and you're just like, wow, that is almost literally bigger than life. And you're playing baseball. Like, how are you getting hurt playing baseball? How did you hurt your calf playing baseball? What were you doing? Like,
it just feels like you can't. It just feels like maybe his size is possibly hurting him, and maybe he just needs to be a little bit smaller. And not that you can get shorter, but maybe he needs to bulk down a little bit, get a little bit more flexible. I don't know. Once again, I don't know if he's just unlucky or if he's injury prone, because now it's 3 seasons in a row and it starts to feel like, okay, well, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. And
this could be a very promising career that gets kind of ended long before it should if this keeps up. So I hope that he stays healthy, but it doesn't look that way.
No, it doesn't. And as Yankees fans, we really need him. So, all right, number 8, Nelson Cruz at age 39 is leading the majors in home runs. How impressed are you with that?
The first thing I think of is steroids. Honestly, it's Major League Baseball. I mean, he is 39. I give him credit. He had a birthday last month, July 1st, or 2 months ago, I guess now, technically. Like we saw at Roger Clemens, you don't typically get better at stuff in sports when you reach that 38, 39, 40 mark. It's rare. It's very rare. And I guess, you look at Tom Brady in the NFL and you could say, well, all right, he's sort of the poster child for youthful longevity. I'm happy, good for Nelson Cruz. I think it's impressive, but I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah, the skepticism is certainly warranted in Major League Baseball. The funny thing is I hadn't even thought about that because I've been watching Nelson Cruz. It seemed like something clicked, and maybe it's just the steroids, like you said, but in 2014, 40 home runs. Next year, it's 44, then 43, then 39, then 37, then 41, and then this season he's at 13. So he's been crushing the ball pretty well since 2014, and actually even before then, he just wasn't in the 40s of home runs at that point. So I think part of it is that it's also a shortened season. So it's not like he's got 50 home runs. He's got 13 home runs, and that just happens to be number one in baseball right now. But yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Jose Altuve looked pretty good for a little while there, and suddenly that kind of fell off too. So there's a lot of skepticism I have around that. I feel bad saying that, but it's true.
It's well earned in Major League Baseball. And unfortunately, anytime a player does well, there's going to be that question in baseball. So,
by the way, just as a completely side note, I just wanted to, because you're talking about him hitting home runs, and did you know that the average, the baseball average batting average right now is 244, which is pathetic. And just to give you some context, it is the lowest average batting percentage that in about 50 years. I think it was 1973-ish that the last time it was that low. And so it's just, yeah.
I did not know that. And I think, just to add to that, I think it's very similar to the revolution in basketball, where the analytics say just shoot 3-pointers.
Right.
The analytics are now just saying just hit home runs.
Yep.
We don't need to hit singles.
Strike out home runs. Strike a
home run, walk. Strike the three true outcomes. So, yeah, absolutely. Number 7, the Dodgers are the best team in baseball. Now, I don't want to give ourselves too much of a pat on the back here. We got that right, Lou, so far. Yeah. Well, but I think everyone kind of predicted that.
I'm pretty sure that no one is surprised they have just basically an all-star lineup on that team. Yeah. I mean, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, come on.
They have the best hitting and best pitching in the game. If they don't win the World Series this year, I just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like, there's no more Astros to deal with. So if they can do what they did last year, they have probably a better than great chance of winning.
All right, number 6, Tampa Bay.
Inning 6.
Yeah, inning 6. Yes, inning 6. Tampa Bay is surprisingly in first place in the American League East, and this might relate to the injuries that the Yankees have had, but I don't think anyone predicted the Rays would be up 3.5 games more than halfway through the season.
Yeah, and the Rays are at 25-12 right now. The Yankees are at 20-14, which is crazy. And to think, that the Rays people were laughing at not too long ago, but I think it is more a statement on the Yankees underperforming than necessarily as much as it is the Rays overperforming.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Rays are just kind of a steady team that they don't have a lot of pressure on them, and they just go out and try and play good baseball. The Yankees are always World Series or bust, right. And maybe I don't want to say the pressure's getting to them. They've been dealing with some injuries. They have been inconsistent pitching, and it's just they still can make the playoffs. So it's not that big of a deal. It's just something I noticed.
Yeah.
All right, inning number 5. Shane Bieber putting together a Cy Young. I want to say Cleveland Indians pitcher Shane Bieber is putting together a Cy Young season and could be potentially win the Triple Crown. He's 6-0, 1.35 ERA, 75 strikeouts, all tops in Major League Baseball. How impressed are you?
I'm impressed. I think that this is the wrong season to be that dominant because no one's going to count it. Truthfully, it's not going to be enough of a crew games to really count for like a full season. He might still win this. I'm assuming they're going to still give out the Cy Youngs. The Cy Young's a Cy Young, so who cares? But it's a shame. It's a shame that number 1 he's doing it in this season, and number 2 he's on the Cleveland Indians. So.
Well, actually, just really quickly, I have to update it. He's 1.2 ERA because he had a start yesterday, and I didn't add this in. So 1.20 ERA, 84 strikeouts, still 6-0, still all tops in baseball. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be discredited because by the end of the season, whatever wins he had, I thought maybe it would be different because you're still leading in wins, you're still leading in strikeouts, you're still leading in ERA. So it's a little different, but yeah, you're right. It's not gonna feel the same because you didn't do it over the long course of a season. Right. And speaking of the Indians, inning number 4, there is a 3-team AL Central race. 1.5 games separate the Indians and the Indians, the Twins, and the White Sox. From what I'm looking at, the White Sox, they're kind of the upstarts in the party. They had a younger team, and they weren't. People thought they would be good this year, but they've been better than expected. The Twins were in the postseason last year, and the Indians although they just traded away Mike Clevenger, which we'll get to later.
Yep.
But the Indians, I think people were expecting good things from them. This is basically the most exciting race in baseball right now. So, any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, the White Sox are at 22-13, the Indians are 21-14, and the Twins right now are at 20-16. So it should be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, truthfully, it's fun, but I don't think that it's very meaningful because I don't think any of those teams really. I mean, the Indians kind of looked like they had something going last year for a little while, but I don't think that this goes too much further than the regular season, honestly.
Well, I mean, all three of them, because 16 teams make the playoffs,
yeah,
all three of them are probably going to be in the postseason.
Yeah,
they all have a shot.
I don't think. Well, technically, they're going to have a chance. Yes, I don't give them a very good chance. I'll put it that way.
Okay. So ending number 3. Speaking of the playoffs, of all of baseball, all the teams in baseball right now, because of the 16-team playoff race, only about 5 or 6 teams are out of the playoffs right now. Or basically, I wouldn't say mathematically, but like it would just take an enormous turnaround for them to make the playoffs. I think this is actually really good for baseball. I'm not normally a fan of expanding the postseason, but I do like the excitement it creates during the regular season.
Yeah, baseball, I think, is all they've been trying to do is just limp to the playoffs. Just get to the playoffs because that's where the owners are going to make all their money. That's where all the TV ratings are going to come in. I mean, that's all that really matters. And I think with 16 teams, you know, it's going to be fun. You're going to have sort of an NCAA kind of style playoff where it's going to take a while. And, you know, any sport is better in the playoffs. There's no sport that you watch that is less good than in the regular season. I mean, in college football for a little while a regular season was better than with the BCS, but I think it's a good thing. I agree. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm actually looking forward to it because the playoffs matter. You know, games matter.
And it's nice when you have a real Cinderella, like when baseball was only 4 teams from each conference made it, or each league made it.
Yep.
It just, you really, really, really had to have a great season. Like you really had to have a great season. And now, you know, maybe an upstart team can go on a run. What I'm not happy about is I don't want the Houston Astros to have any chance to win the World Series this year, and it looks like they're going to make the playoffs, and that's not a team I want to see in the postseason.
Yeah, they're not going to do so well though. I think they're going to get roughed up. I don't care what the commissioner is trying to do to protect them. I don't think that they're. God forbid they play the Dodgers.
Well, let's from your lips to God's ears. Let's hope.
Yeah.
All right, inning number 2. There was a weird MLB trade deadline. The trade deadline was on August 31st, just this past Monday. Normally we see these huge splash moves from the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers. It seemed like it was a small market trade deadline, and I think it's actually a byproduct of all 16 of the teams being alive right now. Hey, 16 team makes the playoffs. I'm the Blue Jays. I'm in 3rd place in the AL East. Why can't I go add Jonathan Villar and VR and Robbie Ray and give myself a chance to compete? Who knows? Once I get into the playoffs, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And you saw the Padres make some noise by trading for Mike Clevenger, and now they're going to pair him with Chris Paddock. They actually added players all over the roster. The Padres are really going for it right now. You don't really see that from these small market teams.
Yeah, the Padres look like they're all in, and they kind of blitzed the trade deadline and they added Clevenger. They traded was it Greg Allen, I think, Adrian Morahan. I can't say his name.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole. I mean, the list is it's
long. And added Aaron Nola as well to their team. I mean, they really bolstered their team. The back of the rotation, I'm trying to remember who they got. Drew Pomeranz. No, Mitch Moreland. They got a back of the rotation pitcher or back of the bullpen pitcher, and they just look. I'm just liking teams going after it right now. So I'm really happy to see this. I was sad that the Yankees didn't really make a move. I mean, what's going on here? Like, why aren't you making any moves? What are you doing? It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think. The Padres have never won the World Series, right? I think they made it in '98, and they lost to the Yankees. And I know that they won. I looked this up earlier. They won two NL pennants in '84 and '98, but they lost the World Series both years. So, I mean, they'd be a good story. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy for them. If the Yankees don't win, I'm now all in on the Padres. And our number one first inning story. Mm-hmm. So on this show, we like to be accountable. And early this season, Lou said that the Red Sox are in rebuilding mode. And I didn't say anything about it at that time because I was like, it was weird to me. I was like, well, they won the World Series 2 years ago. I don't really know if they're in rebuild mode. I didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. And here we are. Red Sox are in last place, and it's not close. It's not close.
Yeah.
And my question to you is, was that something that you were just saying because you're, Yankee fan hating on the Red Sox, or was there something that you saw or heard that made you think that they were in a full rebuild right now?
I mean, it was pretty clear when you trade away Mookie Betts. That was it. Okay. I mean, that's you have a guy who's a generational talent, and by all accounts, a very good dude off the field too. And so if you're rebuilding, I mean, you got to start somewhere, don't you? I mean, it just seemed kind of ridiculous that once they let him go, it was like, well, all right, that's like the Cavs trading away LeBron James. You're just like, all right, well, I guess that's it then. So it's been, I think it's just been a dumpster fire ever since. And
I was giving the Red Sox the benefit of the doubt of thinking that they maybe knew what they were doing. Maybe they didn't want to get into a long contract with Mookie Betts, but it does sound, and now with them trading Mitch Moreland away, it does sound like that they are basically in a rebuild. And it's kind of shocking because I feel like it's been a good 20 years since the Red Sox have been irrelevant. Like I'm just remembering basically since they broke through in 2004 and won the World Series.
Yeah,
they've basically been relevant every year.
They've been on a tear. Yeah. Yep.
So it's a little surprising to see them at the bottom of the standings, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's our 9 innings of baseball headlines.
Good, excellent. And that's our show, actually. And so this is actually a little bit of a landmark week. This is our 20th show, week 20, and we're still kicking. So hopefully we'll keep going. You can follow us along where I keep saying it, but this is just what you have to do now. Is Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Yahoo, email the Benchwarmerz podcast at yahoo.com. And if you travel and traverse over to the Apple Podcast realm or Google Play, if you could give us a 5-star rating if you think we deserve it. I think we deserve it, but it'd be nice if you thought so too. We need all the help we can get to kind of push this show to the next level. And we're doing what we can behind the scenes, but we need your help. So that's my little shameless self-promotion plea. And I'll try to keep those to a minimum, but it's going to come up every now and then because we do need it. So that'll do it. Looking forward to the rest of the NBA playoffs, and we'll touch in next week with all that. And then football, we're going to revisit our football. We gave ourselves one more change-up time for our football picks in the event of any major injuries, which we've had a couple. So we get one chance to kind of revise our picks, and we're going to touch on that next week. So we're looking forward to it. And that'll do it. So for Jose Ortiz, I am Lou Ruggieri, and this has been the Benchwarmerz Podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.